In this post, we're going to take a look at some of the new tools that AutoCAD 2011 has incorporated. One of those is the hatch command. The hatch command actually becomes a part of the ribbon now. We no longer have it in its own dialog box. So it's actually a live, fully functioning ribbon string, and we're able to actually update everything live and on the fly with the hatch tool. So it's no longer in a dialog box where you have to go out and preview it separately, come back in to edit it. Everything's happening live and on screen. These are all of our hatch patterns we can scroll through now while we're working in it. Once we select one and we head back out to the drawing, we can actually get previews of that hatch pattern just by hovering over the areas that we could possibly enclose with the hatch. So as I move my cursor around here, you can see that I'm previewing where that hatch is going to look like and how it's going to fit into my drawing. So I'm going to choose this selection and place the hatch there. And now I can go back up and I can take a look at other properties within my hatch. I can change the color of the actual hatching. So I just changed it to green, but I'm going to go ahead and change it back to just saying use current for what's with the layer. Then we can hatch the background color here as well. So if I change it to cyan, you can see that it's a very thick background color on the hatch pattern that it's filling in. It's kind of a gradient blended with a hatch. Now we can set the transparency as well, so we can start to fade that so that it's not so intense, but we can still have the color and the hatching in our drawing. But they're not at full opaqueness on the drawing compared to all the rest of the objects. The highest you can go is 90. You can't go all the way to 100 simply because then it would just be it would obviously be transparent completely and it would disappear, and that would be confusing on whether or not it's set to transparent or whether or not the layer itself was turned off or frozen. I'm going to add another little hatch into here holding the same properties. I went right back into that hatch by double clicking on it and getting the hatch edit. And you can even use the grip points on the hatch tools to be able to modify where those hatches are located. So now when we select a hatch, we actually get this little center of the hatch grip mark that we can modify and move with, as you can see I just did here. Now heading back in to our hatch patterns, I'm just going to switch and make a different hatch pattern. Highlight another area just to kind of mix up some of the hatch patterns that we have within the drawing. And then I'm going to use the draw order to be able to send these hatches to the back. This command actually allows us to make all hatching move to the back no matter what, as opposed to just the normal draw order of bring object to the front, send object to the back. This one will actually set all hatch patterns within your drawing to always be behind all other objects on top of them. Okay, I'm going to draw another object in here. In 1 second, I want to get some of these other hatch patterns set up. View how our setup in our hatches were. And I'm going to get a slot that I'm going to draw just by using a normal P line. Switching from line to arc, and then line again, and back to arc, using O tracking to make sure I'm lined up. Close it off. And then I'm going to go ahead and hatch it with a different pattern just so that we can change things up a little bit. I'm going to go for my favorite one. Let's grab stars. It's fun and you hardly ever get to use it. Okay, I'm also going to set the background just because we just learned that, and set the transparency just to kind of fade it out a little bit. And then I'm actually going to change the border of this and show you that the hatch is going to move with that border. So I right-clicked right on that, and that switched it over to being able to turn into an arc. I just flipped the line. Just a note about the transparency that we just used earlier with some of these hatches. All objects in the AutoCAD 2011 package now have the ability to hold transparency. So you can set transparency for all objects, not just hatches. And transparency can be plotted, but just so that you all know, as a default when it ships in AutoCAD, transparency is set to a not plot. It's set to not plot for performance optimization. But you can absolutely turn the plotting of transparency back on if that's your goal when you get to your plotting stages. And don't forget, transparency can only go as high as 90, just to avoid confusion with frozen layers or turned off layers. So don't forget that if you keep trying to put in 100 and it's not working, that's why. All right, that concludes our lesson on some of the new tools that we have inside of 2011 with the hatch command and how they've modified it and made it a lot more robust and easier to work with, I think, than any other hatch we've had in the past. So pretty handy now. Enjoy!